Yeah, I'm going to start now. Good morning, students. Welcome to the University of Cranfield seminar with SIUK. We have Dr. Teresa Mercer who will be presenting today and taking any questions that you may have. Can I please request Teresa to please introduce herself and take ahead with the session?
Thank you so much, Shagan, and welcome everybody. I'm so glad you've come to join us today. What I'd like to do is talk to you around what we offer at the School of Water, Energy and Environment, so in terms of our taught master's programs, but also from sort of a research perspective as well. So if you're interested in going down, research career as well. I've been at Cranfield now for the last year, just over a year now. I was here 10 years ago. It's a place that I absolutely love working at. I love, working with the students here and with my colleagues. And I'm hoping to impart some of those reasons why to you during this sort of 40 minutes or so that we've got together. So without further ado, I'll give you a bit of a background about my job role. So I joined Cranfield University as a senior lecturer in environmental sustainability. And we'll be talking a little bit around sustainability today and more generally sort of our STEM teaching provisions. And I am also the Environment Programme Director. Although the themes are changing slightly, I'll be in charge from next academic year for the programme, which is called Sustainability and Environmental Management. So I'll talk you through those as well. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen. Can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Oh, it's working? Okay, brilliant. Thank
Yes.
you. Thanks, Shagan. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about one of our schools, the School of Water, Energy, Environment, and what makes us different as a university. Why would you want to come and study here? So I suppose our specialities is around creating leaders in technology management, and I would also add here science. We've got a proud heritage of 75 years. And throughout Cranfield's history, we've always had applied research that makes a difference. So that's our sort of USP, is that applied research, working with external stakeholders, industry, government, that makes a difference, to the world that we live in across science, technology, and management. We're one of the UK's top research institutions as well, so we perform very well in the last research excellence framework. And what also makes us different is we're an exclusively postgraduate university, so we don't actually have an undergraduate cohort. And what this means from a teaching perspective is a lot of our academics can really focus on their research, and that means that they can bring their research into the teaching. So it's very much research-led teaching. And it also means we have really great student to staff ratios as well, because we're a small institution, postgraduate only, and we can really focus our attentions on delivering that really high quality and impactful teaching portfolio. We have world-class and unique facilities, and I'll go through in a little bit of detail some of those depending on your subject area. And what I really wanted with this presentation as well is I can present to you what we have and what we deliver on, but it'd also be nice to see your research interests as well, or your sort of areas that you'd like to go into your further careers in as well. So I'll leave it open at the end for Q&A, and then we can drill into sort of subject areas in a bit more detail as well. And we have these unrivaled links to industry as well. And it's actually recognised recently in the Times Higher Education SDG impact as well. So I'll talk you through that in just a minute. So what are our areas of specialisms? So we've got a number of schools at the moment, which range from aerospace. We've got defence and security, so that's on our Shrivenham campus. We cover energy and sustainability, environment and agri-food, manufacturing and materials. We have a School of Management as well, and some of our courses within School of Water, Energy, Environment actually work alongside School of Management quite closely. Transport systems and also water. So where is Cranfield University located? So hopefully you can see, I'm just going to move this slightly because I'm hoping that, there we go. That's much better. Now you can see all the slides. So Cranfield's based in Bedfordshire in England. So this is just here, this little dot right here. And it's, I'd say, more or less halfway between this main city here, Milton Keynes, and Bedford. So it's just within this area here. On a larger scale, it's situated between London and Birmingham if you're trying to sort of navigate and find out where it is. But we have really easy transport links. So it's only 35 to 40 minutes to London by train, and there are direct trains both from Milton Keynes and Bedford. And we have a bus service as well that links us between Milton Keynes and Bedford as well. So a regular bus service that frequently used by students that are living on campus. So we have those great connections with our nearby town cities and obviously with London as well. There are a range of on-campus facilities that are used by students. So we've got an amazing sports and fitness centre and a lot of sort of sports clubs that are linked to that. There's a lot that, that's going on after sort of lectures have happened. There are shops, restaurants, and a post office on campus as well. So, students have got that sort of access to facilities. And we pride ourselves as well on our clubs and societies. So in this sort of current year, we've got almost 40 clubs and societies. So these are actually student-run, student-led, and they can range from anything from, we've got like a green society, a green club that does sort of volunteering experiences for students, all the way up to sort of various sports clubs as well. So you can always basically find your place, and there's so much extracurricular activity going on that supports you beyond your studies themselves. And of course, we've got on-campus accommodation. So we have dedicated accommodation on campus, but there's also accommodation available off campus as well. So some students choose to live in Cranfield Village itself, others choose to live in sort of Bedford and Milton Keynes. So you've got all of those options when you're considering coming to study here as well. And I should add, alongside these campus facilities, there's a lot of support networks that are designed to support you throughout your time here at Cranfield. So just some examples, we've got the IT service, we've got the library, so you'll have your own sort of subject librarian. You can sort of learn study skills through the library as well. So there's a lot going on. We've got student well-being. You'll be given an academic tutor as well. So you have that pastoral care as well throughout your time. So it's not just about the study, it's about looking after you as a person while you're here as well. So just a few facts and figures about the university. So what I mentioned, the Research Excellence Framework, the last exercise we had was in 2021. Cranfield came 7th in the UK. As part of that as well, our research was classed as being 88% world leading or internationally excellent. So that's 88% of our research portfolio. We're top 30 in the world for engineering, mechanical and aeronautical. That was the QS World University Rankings just in this last year. As I said, the teaching, staff to student ratio is brilliant. So it's around about 1 to 8. So you can imagine just the amount of attention that you have from your module leaders, your course instructors, and sort of guest lecturers that sort of attend to you when you're on our courses as well. And that's amongst some of the best ratios that you'll get at any other sort of UK institution. Our postgraduate is very international, so our cohort's international. They come from across 5,000. We've got a 5,000 strong postgraduate community that come from across 100 countries and more as well. So just to give you a flavour that we are very international, and that's not just the students actually. In terms of staff as well, we're very multicultural as well, and come from all parts of the world. Our professional alumni network consists of over 67,000. alumni, and that's across 169 countries. And again, what makes Cranfield special is with our alumni network, you still have access to learning after you've left, to sort of dedicated sort of career support as well. And you always have that to sort of lean back on, and you can attend, certain topics and talks around your sort of subject area after you've left the university as well. So we do look after you once you've moved on to your careers as well. Cranfield has the largest collection of soil and water scientists in the UK, so that's within the School of Water, Energy and Environment. And we have mutually beneficial relationships with around 1,500 companies and organisations as well. And that gives you that idea of that unrivaled links to industry, which I just mentioned in the previous slide. So some quite impressive, facts and figures with us as an institution. So in terms of our actual master's courses at Cranfield, how do we actually run them? What do they look like? As I said, our education is grounded in this world-leading research, and that again, lends itself to us being, postgraduate only university. So in the same way, we can embed the research. So as soon as the research is being done, it's embedded into teaching. So you're at the forefront of what is being done in the research world as well. It's very much driven by industry. So those links that I mentioned. For most of our courses, we have in industry advisory panels that sort of feed into what we're doing. We have regular meetings that let us know where the skills are going in the sector as well, so that we make sure that we have tailored our courses to ensure that students are ready for the working world when they leave. And this comes through this industry advisory panel. And we look at job market needs as well. So what are the skills that you need to have once you've finished our master's courses? This is really setting you up for success. We look at individual personal development. So I mentioned that there's support around supporting you as a person, as not just a student, but as a whole person while you're here with us. So that includes pastoral care, includes sort of study skill development, for example, and you have that sort of one-to-one support as well from academic staff. So you're given a dedicated tutor for the entire time that you're studying on a master's with us. We look to enhance your skills and expertise to get you ready for employment. And we've just gone through, in fact, this last academic year, a portfolio review of all of our teaching. With that in mind, actually, just to make sure, are all our courses relevant? Are they all up to date? Are they giving you those skills that you need to go on into the working world? And how can we support you better during your time at Cranfield? That's an exercise we've just been going through. We look at co-production and co-creation approaches with students. So we take feedback from students very seriously in terms of, and we did in this last exercise, in terms of how we are actually supporting you in your studies and sort of changing our master's provision. And so there's been a lot of consultation with students through that. But even in the teaching itself, we adopt quite often a flipped classroom approach. So you learn, the fundamental knowledge and concepts that you need to know about. But actually in the live teaching sessions, you'll be co-creating approaches and assessments with your fellow students, but also with academics as well. So you can have an impactful education while you're with us. We take on active and experiential learning. So this is this idea of applied learning. So we use a lot of problem-based learning. We use a lot of case studies in what you're learning. So it's to make your the concept and the knowledge that you've learnt during your lectures come alive, basically. So you can actually see what it's being applied to and its use in the wider context. One example of this is the field trips that we do. So a lot of our modules actually have field trips attached to them. And again, that's getting you out in the real world, actually seeing how what you've learned fits in with the wider environment that you'll be going into. We use authentic assessment strategies as well. And, a lot of you will have heard about, AI in the news and what this means for further education, possibly higher education. So we have adopted this active and experiential learning. So we don't have any exams in any of our courses. Rather, it's this idea of authentic assessment. So things that you would need to be able to do when you go into the working world. So, for example, being able to give a presentation, being able to write a scientific report, being able to write even a policy brief that you can then, go to the government with and say, look, this is where I think we need to be going with a certain topic area. So it's, even, I mean, producing videos as well. So students have produced group videos around, for example, communicating risk, and how you'd strategize around that. So very different type of assessment strategies compared to the traditional, but that's all to set you up for the working world. And we've gone through this in the portfolio review as well, just to make sure that everything that we're covering sets you up for the working world and gives you those authentic working skills. We use digital tools as well to promote inclusivity and widen participation. So we do have a virtual learning environment that we use. We use things like Teams. Just to give you an example as well, so I've got students on the Master Sustainability that I teach, and they have just learned to use a program called Panopto, which is video capture. So they've learned how to make videos for this risk communication and perception assessment that I just talked about as well. Those of you that are interested in other types of digital tools, so we've got courses in, for example, advanced GIS and remote sensing, so understanding and being able to map the natural environment and look at sort of change over time. So we've got expertise in sort of all of these areas, but it's designed as well to promote inclusivity. So we leave no student behind and ensure that we can have participation of all of our student cohorts. We pride ourselves as well on being transdisciplinary. So we like to look at novel solutions and innovation across the different disciplines. And an example of this, so you'd be exposed to this as a student, is when we have group projects. So group projects comes towards the end of all of the master's courses. And within that, you almost act as consultants on a real world issue that you sort of work through the problem with in your project groups. And basically those groups are made up of students from different master's courses. So you're coming together from different disciplines, working on one issue, and then coming up with a solution at the end. So a new transdisciplinary solution to whatever the problem is. And this is how we see transformation as well. This is where we see innovation is in that sort of in-between space between our disciplines. So we like to foster that in all that we do as well, but particularly in the group projects, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Research-led teaching I've mentioned, and very importantly, we embed sustainability across the curriculum. So sustainability, looking at sort of pro-environmental behaviours, how to be better stewards to the environment going forward, is embedded across our curriculum. So every single course, master's course within the School of Water, Energy, Environment has sustainability embedded within, if not explicitly, then implicitly across all of those. It's also across our research themes. And again, we pride ourselves on the sustainability research that we conduct at Cranfield, but actually also through our operations as well. So we've got I'm looking out the window thinking you can see, but we've got an amazingly green campus out there. We have an urban living observatory, so we actually are monitoring the environment over time. But we've got an amazing estates team as well, and they create opportunities, for example, for students around volunteering, around doing their individual thesis as well, around sustainability. So how do we make our operations within the university more sustainable as well? Oh, and just to mention, actually, just hot off the press, actually, in the last week, we found out in the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings that we were ranked #1 in the UK and 6th in the world for our work in supporting SDG 17, which is Partnership for Goals. So again, that really strong links that we have with industry and with the group projects that I just mentioned, which form part of the master's courses, we have those strong links with industry. So oftentimes, the group projects are made in conjunction with our industry partners. They're very much real world application of problems and solutions. So that's just a piece of news that came out in the last week, which we're very proud of as well. So I thought I'd just mention it here. Okay, so I've given a bit of a flavour around what our education provision is, what sort of embeds our approach. In terms of the actual course structure, this is what it looks like in a typical academic year if you're taking one of our full-time courses. So you start off with the taught program. So this consists of 8 modules. They're 10 credits each, and it runs roughly, so academic years from October to September. So between October and February is when you'd have the intense teaching period. You'd have the 8 modules. And the way the modules are structured is you have 1 week of intense learning. So this is the contact time. And then you'd have 1 week where you actually work on your assessments. And that's the block for one module. So each of the modules runs for 2 weeks, 1 week of teaching, 1 week of assessment, and then you move on to the next module. So they're nice compact blocks. You learn everything you need to in that sort of short amount of time before you move on to the next topic. So you can really take a deep dive into the subjects that are covered in the modules that you're doing. With the portfolio review that we've just gone through, the taught programs changed slightly. So we've got more or less over most of our master's courses now, between October and December, you'll be doing sort of core modules. So we'd say around about 5 core modules. Then from December to February, you have choices of electives now. And this is for most of our courses. And the thinking behind this is really to give you an opportunity to specialize in a specific topic or area that you're interested in. So you're not prescribed to take core modules throughout. You now actually have the choice of electives. So you have the opportunity to take the 5 core modules, see where your interests lie, and then decide which electives that you want to take as well. And this might be shared across other master's courses as well. So you get to meet other students when you take on your electives as well. So what I must stress is during the sort of intense teaching time, so that sort of first week where you've got lectures, it's not just lectures, it's that flipped classroom approach as well, where we can bring in that active and experiential learning. So you'll be attending seminars. Some of you might have lab work or field work. We have field trips, as I mentioned, with some of our modules. There'll be assignments that you work on as well. And time for private study in the second week when you're working on your assessment as well. So we do try and give you a really mixed educational portfolio, and it's not just didactic. So it's not just a one-way sort of teaching direction. We take on board what you say, and we co-produce and co-create a lot of our teaching around you as well. Then that brings us on to the group project, which I just mentioned slightly in the last slide. That's between March to April, and you'll be working in these sort of small groups. So I'd say between around 5 to 8 students within the groups. And the idea here is you'd work as a team, you'd problem solve on a specific issue that's set by your group project supervisor, and more often than not with an industrial partner. It's multidisciplinary, and then coming up with a transdisciplinary solution. So you're working with students across different courses as well, integrating subjects within that, and giving you professional skills. So as part of this, for example, students have to present their final outcomes and recommendations. They produce a report as part of it. They do a reflective exercise as well, and they actually look at how they've basically worked together as a team. What are the skills that you've picked up in that time? Problem solving, it might be time management, it might be project management, for example, is just a few of those. So group projects tend to be a highlight actually across all of our master's courses, and so the feedback from students is it really sets them up for the working world, because they're working on a real consultancy exercise for those 2 months. And then the final part of the year takes us on to the individual thesis. This runs from May to September. So actually we're right in the middle of our thesis season right now. So all students are working on their own individual piece of scientific research. They produce a thesis at the end of this. And it provides that sort of research training as well. So we've got some students that are doing sort of qualitative work. So there's 2 of my students. So one's looking at eco and climate anxiety and how people, especially young people, process feelings around that. Some look at doing sort of quantitative type work. So others, might be in the field. They might be doing lab work and then doing sort of quantitative analysis on the results from that. it's a mixed bag really, and across our academic staff, we've got so much expertise across our subject areas. So there's always someone that can sort of supervise you, and it's not that the thesis is prescribed either. It's also co-produced with yourselves as well. So if you have a specific subject area you're interested in, or a specific research topic that you might be interested in, the supervisor's there to help you mold that as well, or to help sort of prompt your ideas as well. So you have that support throughout the year, actually, so that by the time it comes to writing your individual thesis, you've been fully research trained, you know how to write a proposal, and you've had a lot of conversations around how research works and how you produce a thesis. We try and keep it externally linked as well, so with those industry partners that we've got, and some theses actually go on to be funded as well. So there is that option as part of the process as well. So that's what it looks like in terms of course structure for the 1 year full-time courses that we do. There is an option to go part-time as well. In terms of the research course structure, again, this diagram gives you sort of the journey that a typical student would go through if they decided to take the research route as part of that. So this is a PhD timeline, and our other research degrees follow slightly different depending, because we also have Masters by Research as well, which is a different route in. But typically in the first year, you'd be doing a literature review, developing your hypotheses, your research questions, your aims, your objectives. And at the end of the year one, you'd go through a progress review. And also we check on skills training. So when you start your research degree, we actually sit down, so supervisors sit down with you and work out where the gaps are in your skills training and where you would need to have that sort of skills development. To make sure that you can actually carry out your piece of research as well. So that the sort of full training is provided around that once the skills gap's been looked at. In year two, typically you'd start your experimental program, so data collection and processing. Again, you'd go through another annual progress review. We look at skills training just to make sure that you've started it, make sure you're on track. And see if there's still any gaps that need filling in terms of supporting you. And then you'd regularly submit papers to your supervisor as well. So they'd help, look at drafts and make sure that you're on the right track with where your research is going. Then you get to the third year. So this is where you start to think about completing your research degree. You review your key findings. You actually write your thesis, into a full publication. And you'd go through that progress review again. Skills training, we make sure you're fully up to date with the skills you need. You'd submit papers to your supervisor, and then you go through a Viva examination. So this tends to be an oral examination or a defense of your research work, typically with an internal examiner, an external examiner, and then an independent chair within the session as well. Are there any questions so far? I realize I've been talking at you all very much. Has anyone got any questions about the structures, or would you like me to take questions at the end?
Maybe we can take questions in the end. Students,
Okay.
if you have any questions, you can just type them in the chat box and we'll answer them at the end of the session.
Okay, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
So I realise I've got a lot of information coming your way, so just let me know if you ever want me to stop, and I'm happy to stop. So sustainability, as I mentioned in the last few slides, so it embeds everything that we do. We've mapped the SDGs to our teaching. We look at it across our operations, as I mentioned, and a lot of our research is heavily involved in sort of meeting these sustainable development goals. So it's almost like our North Star navigation system around our work that we do for sustainability. And as I mentioned, number 17, Partnerships for Goals, we were just awarded first in the UK and sixth in the world around what we do with our industry partners around the sustainability piece as well. So it's something we're very, very proud of. So within School of Water, Energy, Environment, we have these centres as well, so and themes. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to go into great detail across all of these. I'm just going to give you a flavour of each of those, and then if anyone's interested in learning more about the facilities, and I can go into those. But there's quite a lot of text on these slides. So I'm just going to talk you through them briefly, and we can go back and have a look at those as well if you'd like. So for the environment and agri-food theme, what our aim is to be renowned for transformative solution-driven approaches. And what I should mention here as well is for all of our taught program as well, we're looking at solution-driven approaches to what we do. So just giving you an example from the environment program, we know there's all these sort of different environmental crises that we hear about in the news, climate crisis, biodiversity crisis. And what our courses do is move beyond saying, okay, we know this is the problem, and it's very important to know what the problem is, what the drivers are behind them, what are the processes that, that push them forward. But what are the solutions that we can come up with for that? And that's where you guys come in. So our students are great at sort of coming up with some of these novel solutions. We talk about it in our research, and we talk about it through our teaching as well. And so some of our assessments that we've had from students have been absolutely brilliant in terms of looking at solution-driven approaches for a lot of these sort of crises that we hear about in the media quite a lot as well. So environment and agri-food, we look at it in the context of global climate change, environmental changes. So it could be land use change, for example, declining resources. And we want to have this tangible and positive impacts for students, businesses, policymakers, and wider society as well. So it's moving beyond the scope of impact just within our organisation to having that wider impact. So in society with policymakers and such. And that's across our teaching and our research as well. So with all of our masters, so not just environment and agri-food, we want it to meet the training needs of industry. And this is where we have these industry advisory panels that sort of feed in to the courses and keep us on an even keel in terms of where we're going and what we're planning to achieve. And we have strong input from experts across the sector as well, just to make sure you're fully prepared for your career as well. We've got the group and individual thesis as well. And so sometimes our external industry partners also support us in terms of sponsoring companies and prizes that are awarded to students each year as well. And actually, we've got, I think it's next week, we've got graduation. So we've actually got some prize giving coming up for our students across our masters in the School of Water, Energy, Environment, just coming up next week as well. So really nice celebration of what students have achieved during their time with us, but with external recognition actually from industry as well. And you can imagine what a prize like that would do to your CV in terms of making you marketable as well. And that sort of links that you'd forge with industry during your time with us as well. Really, really valuable. So we've got amazing facilities as well within environment and agri-food. There's just a few here that I can mention. We've got the largest land information system that's sat at Cranfield University. We've got soil health facility, environmental analytical facility. We've got a Cranfield Urban Observatory as well, which I mentioned to you. And this allows us to basically monitor our impact as a university in terms of sort of environmental impact. We can look at things like water quality, soil moisture, soil temperature, and things like that. So a brilliant network with other urban observatories to sort of understand how it works sort of in a rural setting like we have at Cranfield compared to more sort of urban settings. We've got a plant science laboratory, which looks at post-harvest research. So how do we reduce food loss and waste? We've got an environmental analytical facility as well. So this is where a lot of our labs are based. So we look at chemical, biological, and materials analysis as part of this. And actually what makes Cranfield very unique is we have this, so at the very bottom point here, facility for airborne atmospheric measurements. So Cranfield actually has its own airport on site as well. And I'll never get over how, I don't know, I just have to take a second breath because I walk across campus and then you just see planes flying over and landing and taking off from the actual university campus itself. So we've got this amazing facility for actually becoming airborne and looking at atmospheric measurements and sort of measuring those in the environment as well. So just some ideas around sort of the facilities that we've got as well. And I know more about environment and agri-food because this is the theme that I'm based in. But our other theme we've got is energy and
Dr.
sustain.
Sajjad Jabbar coming.
Sorry? Was there a question?
Sorry, complete now. I have
Was there a question? Sorry?
I have summary about my research in the end of this presentation. Sorry, I
Okay.
take 1 minute from your time now. Sorry. Thank
No,
you,
it's
Dr. Sajjad.
fine. Sajjad, okay, no problems, no problems. Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk to you at the end as well. No problem, Sajjad. So for energy and sustainability, again, it's looking at the research and teaching we do in this space is looking at how do we take that drive to net zero, how can we support that, and again, we're looking at leaders in technology and management as part of this. Again, very strong links with training links with industry, and again, we know we have sort of prizes supporting our students as well. So the sort of prize giving ceremonies that we have with our industry partners as well. There are a number of major facilities as well related to energy. So we've got algae, biomass, and bioenergy laboratories. We have a high performance computing system, electrical power and machines, gas turbine engineering laboratories, and a lot of sort of pilot plant scale facilities where you can sort of do your research and you can also be exposed to it as part of teaching as well. So you're able to see how these all work. Similarly with water, the aim here is around building in sustainability and resilience of water systems to support lives and livelihoods. And the graduates that have come out of our water master's courses previously have been at the forefront of developing innovative solutions. So again, that transformative solutions to issues that are caused by pollution, climate change, urbanization, poverty, and also the need to deliver net zero in terms of water services and transitioning to a circular economy as well. Again, there's strong links with the industry advisory panels as part of this, and water students also are part of prizes that are awarded annually as well. So I'm really looking forward to this next week where we can sort of celebrate our students' achievements with external recognition from our industry partners. So in terms of facilities to support water teaching and research, we've got this national research facility for water and wastewater treatment as well, so a full plant that's operational on campus as well. And actually our students that take environmental engineering masters actually can go out and have a look at this as well. We've got a lot of PhD students as well working in this facility. And we've got a point of use water treatment development laboratory as well. So for design engineering, so the aim here is design thinking and looking at how organizations can strive to build and implement new consumer experiences as well. And actually a lot of our other sort of centres across the school work with design over this as well. So the idea here is the philosophy blends together our excellent teaching and research practice to make dreams a reality. So I really like that concept. And this is by building in strategic creativity into business through product and service innovation as well. So a cross-cutting theme. Again, the Masters in Design is created in such a way to meet the training needs of industry. And again, we have this industry sponsoring prizes. In terms of facilities, there's this award-winning eco building houses world-class facilities. So they've got an airy open studio space, flexible lecture space, meeting and tutorial rooms, and PhD pods as well with IMAX to sort of support their work in that area. Okay, so in terms of our master's courses across three, these are the science and management focused master's courses. So, for example, on the environment program, which I'm currently overseeing, we have advanced GIS and remote sensing, environmental management for business, food systems and management, future food sustainability, and global environmental change and planetary health. So with that last one, global environmental change, as I mentioned, we had this portfolio review and we brought in the concept of planetary health. So it's a revamped course, and it's this idea that our impact as humans, as society on the environment can also have sort of feedback mechanisms that impact on, so we can impact on environmental health, but in the same way, environmental health can also impact on human health. And it's that understanding of the interlinkages between that. We've also got advanced water management, applied bioinformatics, design thinking, water for sanitation, and development as well. So there are science and management focused master's courses. With more of a focus on engineering, we've got these master's courses around advanced chemical engineering, environmental engineering, water treatment processes, advanced mechanical engineering, and renewable energy. And we also do a lot in the apprenticeship space as well. So we have this part-time delivery mode for sustainability business apprenticeship with sustainability masters. And this is actually one that I teach on as well. So we have a lot of practitioners that take that master's course. We have a soil scientist apprenticeship with masters in soil science, which is due to start, actually, I think it's October, November time. So the very first intake of cohorts is due to come up very soon this year. So we're very excited about that. And the applied bioinformatics apprenticeship as well. So these are sort of part-time delivery. In terms of research, we have a master's by research for design, a master's by research for water, and other funded research opportunities as well. So around that sort of PhD type routes as well. So, keep an eye out for advertisements that are coming out. There's always sort of funded research opportunities that become available throughout the year. And in terms of group and thesis projects, I just wanted to put up some examples of what's been done in the past. So, group projects are always a highlight with students, and so much has been done. I'm just thinking about the group project that I just supervised. They just submitted back in, start of May. They just submitted. They did their presentation. They did a really brilliant job. But they were looking at understanding natural capital and how that changes over time with land use change and with climate change for an estate up in Scotland. So it's a working estate, and they wanted to see how the natural capital could be mapped and what they should be focusing their activities on. So again, students coming together. We had an environmental management for business student, we had an advanced GIS and remote sensing student, we had global environmental change and planetary health students all coming together to create a solution for this organisation up in Scotland and helping them understand how best to manage their land. So that's just one example of a group project that's just been completed. But as you can see on the screen on the left-hand side, there's so much more that's covered across the whole of the school as well. And thesis projects, so the students are going through at the moment. Again, there's a list up there that you can have a look at. From my own perspective, I've got two master's students. One is looking at understanding carbon reporting for small and medium enterprises. So he's going through a questionnaire process at the moment. And I've got another student who's looking at how we can become more resilient to eco and climate anxiety, and then focusing more on sort of young people and running workshops with them as well. So you can see from what's up on the screen and what I've talked about that our group projects and thesis projects are so wide-ranging and do depend on your research areas as well. So, you can find a thesis or group project supervisor, find a project you're interested in, and they can help you mold that, or they have their ideas as well, and you can sort of come on board with existing projects as well. So there's so much that you can get involved with, which makes it a really exciting space to be in. Our learner background, so they come from wide range of backgrounds, so engineering, applied science. We've had, geographers on our course from business, design, product management. And what I really wanted to take away from this slide is, firstly, the wide range of backgrounds that our graduates have, but also it's not limited to that either. So, even if you think, oh, I might not fit in with this course necessarily, sometimes it helps to have that external perspective as well, and so we don't tend to turn people away necessarily based on learner backgrounds. There always seems to be a way that you can fit into a course, and we actually like that sort of interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary way of working and teaching as well. What also makes it nice on the courses is you all go through an induction process together, and you all take the core modules together as well. So you all come out with the same knowledge and skills, and then you can go on to take your electives as well. So we do support you in your learning journey, regardless of your background as well. So we're there to help everybody get through their master's courses as well. Our students go on to amazing careers as well. I'm just thinking about, the last cohort that have just come through as well. So, it might be in sort of energy and sustainability. So these are some of the companies that our graduates have gone on to. So Coca-Cola, Siemens, EDF, Energy, Environmental Agency, in environment and agri-food, a lot have gone on to food companies. So Kellogg's, Carlsberg, GlaxoSmithKline, National Trust. I mean, I should add in there as well, some, can go on to work with government, local authority as well. In water science, you can see there just a few examples. So Severn Trent Water, Anglian Water, DEFRA, World Bank, Atkins, Mott MacDonald. So these really huge names. Our graduates are coming out. They've got these skills, they've got the knowledge, and they're making such an impact in these huge organizations, which is what we're hoping for all of you. And then design engineering as well, just a few examples there with Electrolux, Blue Bear, Unilever, Dell. I don't need to read them all out. You can see on the screen just how impressive, our graduates are and what they've gone on to do. So I think that's the end of my presentation. It's a very quick tour of what we do and the structure of the modules and courses that we take on board. I'm sure there's questions that you might have about that, and I'm happy to take those if you've got any in the chat.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you for such a
Hi.
lovely presentation. We do have a few questions from students who have just messaged me directly. But students, if you have any other questions, please feel free to unmute your mic as well. So the first question is, when is the clearing deadline?
The clearing deadline, I'm not sure because we're still doing we're still working on scholarships and things like that at the moment. So I think that's the 1st of July, but I'm not sure on that one. Do you know, Holly, when is the final deadline for clearing? Okay, so Holly's just checking out, yeah, because I know we're still in the process of working through scholarships. I know that, and we've still got some open. So to UK applicants, I think it's till the 1st of July, but I'm not sure of the timeline beyond that. But hopefully Holly can find that out for us. But I can ask, are there any other questions I can answer for the time being?
Yeah, the next question is, do you have a January intake?
January, no.
Okay.
So we only have the October intake for all of our courses, and that's because we have just the core modules to start with and then the electives. But some students do take the part-time route. And then if they do that, then it's a bit more flexible in terms of when they're taking specific modules at certain times of the year. So there is more flexibility around that. It's just, but October for the time being. And we also have those online delivery courses as well. So for example, the Master Sustainability, that's At the moment, that's taken in 2 cohorts. So it's a March cohort and an October cohort, I believe. But for the full-time master's courses, then that's just the October intake.
Perfect. There's another question. What are the English language requirements needed?
English language requirements. Let me just have a quick look. Entry requirements. Here we go. Okay, so the minimum entry requirements are a UK lower second class 2-2 or upper second class 2-1, undergraduate degree with honours in a relevant subject, or an equivalent international qualification. So you'd have to just double check to see how it matches up with our undergraduate degrees classifications. But there is actually a link, if I post it in the chat for you, about international entry requirements. So let me just copy that over. And you can have, and this is why it's really important to apply, even if you're not completely sure. It says if you do not meet our formal entry requirements, but you can demonstrate the ability to complete the course successfully, you could still be accepted onto a course. So each application is considered on its own merit. So even things like having work experience, for example, so relevant work experience in combination with a lower class degree can still get you on the course as well. So let me just pop this in the chat. So this should help you around international, because I'm just having a look here, yeah, international qualification. So you can find out through that link what the international entry requirements are. So English language requirements, it says here, you need to demonstrate you can communicate effectively in English in an academic environment. If you've previously obtained a higher education level qualification from a UK university and have been taught and assessed in English, then that's fine. If not, you're required to take the English test. Oh, here it says here as well. Okay. So it says for IELTS is 6.5 overall and 5.5 in all skill components. If you're taking TEFL, it's 92 total and minimum skill component scores, 18 in reading, 17 listening, 20 speaking, and 17 writing. If it's the Cambridge Assessment English, it would be an overall score of 180 and 116 all skill components. If it's a Duolingo English test, it's 120 overall and minimum subscores of 95 literacy. So there's quite a few actually different ways that you can, there's password, Pearson. What I'll do is I'm going to post this in the chat and then you can actually scroll down and see which English tests and requirements are in there. And it says if you have not taken a test but reached the required score, you can apply for one of our pre-sessional English for academic purpose courses as well. So you've always got that option as well. So let me just post this in the chat as well. Oh, Jonathan, I can see. Okay, so you're talking about does this university have a medical school? No, we did used to have a health school previously, and we don't have official partnership with the NHS. But we do have skills around, so for example, when we talk about global environmental change and planetary health, one of the things that we're bringing in is, for example, water and sanitation and looking at how diseases spread and things like that through sort of environmental vectors. So we've got that experience, and we do have a partnerships manager who looks at developing those partnerships. So in terms of research, we're looking at reaching out to the NHS, but we don't have an official partnership in place in terms of teaching yet. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
No worries.
We have a few more questions. There's one student who said, "Hi, when is the deadline for applying MBA course?"
For the MBA, so that would be with the School of Management, I believe, not School of Water, Energy and Environment. Let me just have a look for you. So they might be on a different timetable to us. What was the MBA in?
Student, can you please unmute your mic? Athena? Management.
Yeah, MSc Management. Okay. Let's have a look. MBA. I can see the Cranfield Executive. Okay, Cranfield MBA programs. Okay, so the School of Management is a separate school to us. So what I'll do is I'll put this in the chat as well, and it might be best. So it does give you admissions for the School of Management on this link I'm about to send you. But have a look through these pages as well and see if you can, because I can't see it on the screen here. But yeah, they're a different school to us. So let me pop that in the chat for you. So was that Athena who asked that one?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So that should hopefully give you some more information on that.
Yeah, we have the last 4 minutes left in this session. So students, if you have any questions, can you please unmute your mic and ask?
What I'd like to add as well is even after this session, if you have, because I know what it's like, you'll go away and you'll have a think about things, and then when this session's over, something will pop in your head and think, oh, I should have asked that question when I was actually in the session. Feel free to email me and I can get the answers for you as well after the session if that's easier, if nothing springs to your mind right now. And
Once
while Holly's here, have you got an answer on that, Holly, for the deadline?
Hi, I've just been in touch with the admissions team. Theoretically, we don't have deadlines, but we have to be mindful of visas that are required. So the time that it will take to get a visa. And I'm just having another look on here. So yes, and obviously the accommodation aspect as well. So students would need to kind of understand they're going to need a little bit of time for the visa process.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Holly.
one student has raised their hand. Student, can you please unmute your mic and ask the questions or drop your question in the chat box?
Good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, my question is that I have just graduated from an engineering department, and I'm from Iraq, and I graduated from an American university, which has a similar curriculum to the UK universities. And I was wondering about the criteria of obtaining a fully funded scholarship to study a master degree in the UK, because it would be difficult to afford the tuition and fee of studying. So
Yeah.
I just want to get some clarifications on that, and thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we've just been going through our scholarship applications, and so for UK students, I think it finishes on the 1st of July. For our international ones, we have we've come up to the end for this academic year for coming up, but we still have other types of scholarships. So it's almost like a reduction in fees, if that makes sense. So again, I wouldn't discourage you from applying, because we still have some availability of these scholarships or bursaries, as you call them, that you can still apply for as well, or still be considered for, even if there's a waiting list. But in future years, so if you were thinking in future years, I'd say the best time in terms of thinking about scholarships, because we started making decisions around early May time. That's a sort of time frame I'd think about, but there's still opportunities if you apply as well. So it works out as more of like a reduction in fees. That's it, Cranfield scholarships. Holly's just posted it there. Does that answer your question, Ella?
Mm.
Yes. Okay, brilliant.
Okay, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So we are at the end of the session. So thank you, students. Thank you, Teresa, for joining and presenting a lovely presentation. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank you.
coming
Have a
along,
nice day.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Shagun.
Thank you.